What's up, Deb? How's it
Happy,
going?
good. How are you? Happy Tuesday.
Thank you. I feel like we've done that so many times. We need to do better. That it's like, hey, Deb, happy Tuesday.
That's all I say now at this point is Happy Tuesday because it's Tuesday. We record on Tuesday. For the most part, we
Yeah,
record on.
I do hear some of these podcasts that have a more set intro, and
Mm,
there's times when I'm like, man, I wonder if we should do that. And then I'm like, I don't know. We've never really done that. So why
yeah,
start now? Because
yeah,
then it feels like for us, it doesn't
uh,
feel authentic and genuine. You know what I
yeah. I
mean?
I think our thing is that we don't have a set intro. That's our
Which
thing.
that used to be our joke, and then it just kind of became the norm. So that might be it. But yeah, it is very impressive, some of these people who do these intros, and they're like just very on it, very structured, and it's impressive. I just don't know. We used to do that back with the character combine, but not so much anymore.
We did, yeah. You would introduce.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
and then
Exactly.
yeah, but even that was a little dicey sometimes. So can I
I
can
like
I say
it.
something just on a random note here?
Oh, what? Yes.
No, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I know why you would think it was a bad thing because that's usually how it goes.
As soon as you ask for permission, I'm like, oh no, here we go. What is it gonna say?
You know what's
Okay.
funny is I was so I didn't tell you this, but I started a Pinterest for Connectable. We've had it for a while, but I was just looking at, I know, just hear me out. We've we've had it for a while. I just don't do much with it, but I was looking up some stuff about promoting podcasts and some of the better social medias to do that. And Pinterest is actually one of them because so many people use it. Myself not included. I think I have one, but I think I started it a long time ago for character combine stuff when I was working for them. But we started that, and basically I upload clips or things that we've already shared on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all that. But I was going through trying to just upload a bunch of stuff the other day, and I was going through a bunch of our episodes from the past, and some of them, like, you forget about some of the clips that we posted, and some of them are really funny. And not to toot our own horn, but like some of them are pretty like funny clips. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then a couple of them, I was making fun of you, and it was kind of like that scene from The Office where they're going through all of Jim's pranks on Dwight. And he's like, oh, that one was really funny. And then it's like the fifth one. He's like, you know what? When you read these back to back to back, maybe these weren't as nice as I thought they were. I was starting to feel guilty. I'm like, yeah,
That, that's how it was for you
a
watching
little
all.
bit, a little bit. It's like, oh, that was funny. I was like the sixth time I've roasted her on this clip. Maybe it's not as fun as I thought. It lasts like that for a second. Then I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I thought it was
Yeah.
still funny, but yeah, it just hit me. But but no, that's not even what I was going to say. What I was going to say is we've had people on this podcast before that have had glasses and they
Mhm.
wear their glasses, and
Yeah.
it usually creates a really bad reflection. Yours, for all these years of podcasting, have never created a bad reflection, which is really helpful for us. Are those just regular glasses?
Yeah, well, I just got these. So these are new. That's why I've been wearing them. So I have an old pair that I would wear if my contacts were killing my eyeballs. Like I
Okay,
would put them on, but they were like the lenses were like toast, like beyond cleaning repair, and like the frames didn't fit. So like anyway, so these are fairly new. I got these, I don't know, like a month ago. So I've been trying to, I'm not supposed to wear my contacts for as long as I am during the day. I just do it anyway. So I'm trying to be better about taking my contacts out at night and just putting my glasses on. So they're meant to be, I got them so that I could wear them at night, especially. So like if I'm driving at night, so like there's no reflection and I can see the lights clearly. So I'm wondering if that's why. But
they're working.
I also don't have a good quality, like I don't have a ring light in front of me. I just
Sure,
have had kitchen light, so maybe it would be a different story if I had actual good lighting hitting me. I don't know.
maybe
What?
that's what it is. No, it just hit me because sometimes we've had guests on, and I always
Mhm.
feel bad because I never want to be the person that's telling them they need to adjust their lights or their setup, unless it's like a audio thing where we can't hear them, which we've had to do a few times. But
Yeah.
sometimes when they're recording, maybe it is the ring light, maybe it's the backdrop that they're using, or the whatever's on the other side of the computer. But
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, I can't even see their eyeballs. I don't know if they're looking at me, if they're looking at you, if they're asleep. I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I just noticed that. We've never had that issue with you, but like you said, maybe it is because there's no ring light. But
Yeah. So
anyways, that was an unnecessary sidebar. So
I can't see, I can see way better with these on. So these are way better than my
You
other ones.
you have done a couple episodes where you were not wearing glasses or your contacts, and it was obvious because I feel like you're squinting at the screen, like,
Oh yeah, I'm blind.
yeah,
Yeah, it's everything's blurry. Yeah.
yeah. I have contacts,
Yeah.
and I think I told you this before. I had LASIK done years ago,
You did.
mm-hmm,
Oh,
it didn't stick, and it regressed a little bit, and then I did the
oh.
touch up, and then after that lasted longer, and then here I am with contacts again.
See, that's my worst fear. So I have a few friends who have done LASIK and they're like, "Oh, it's the best thing ever. Like I don't ever have to wear my like I have perfect vision now." And I'm like, "See, I'm so scared that not to get it done because I heard it's really fast and like you're
Yeah,
fine. I'm afraid it just is not going to work and I do it for no reason. Oh, that sucks."
it does suck. It was a nice, whatever it was, 10 years. It was awesome, and everything they said is true. It's awesome. All these trips you go on, places you go, playing sports, you'd always have to pack extra contacts. The
Yeah.
solution, all that crap. Then it's like once you don't have that anymore, there's like
Mhm.
this gap in your bag when you're traveling. Like, oh, why is it so light? Oh, that's right. I don't have all of this extra stuff that I need to bring for my eyes. I'm good. I can just see. And so, especially when it came to like sports, playing sports,
Yeah.
playing some baseball a couple years after I had it done, and then later in life, softball and stuff like that. It's just really nice because you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And then I honestly think that's where I started noticing that my eyes were starting to regress when I was playing softball in the outfield. And you look up, and I'm like, man, this seems a little blurrier than
Yeah.
before. Like it's like you're throwing the glove up at the last second trying to catch those balls. He's like, oh, it got on me a little quicker than I was expecting. And so I'm like going to the doctor, like, yeah, there's been some regression. So it's really nice having it. But yeah, unfortunately for the few of us out there where it didn't stick, it's kind of a bummer.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But I
yeah,
don't, and people are like, get LASIK. And I'm like, first of all, I don't even know if I qualify. Like, I haven't even talked to my doctor about it. And I don't know. I'm scared. I don't want it to rig just like what happened to you. That's like my biggest fear is that it doesn't stick. And then,
yeah.
yeah.
And it is a
So,
weird thing. It is funny because, like anything with your eyes is always a little bit dicey. You know what I mean? Even though they have it down, they know what they're doing.
right.
It's still your eyeball. It's kind of a sensitive part of your body. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
kind of a
exactly.
big deal. So I get the hesitation for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm trying to wear my glasses at night now.
There
So
you go.
fair
Perfect.
much to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. It puts less stress on your eyes.
Yeah. And it's funny, like going back to I've been back at work for almost a month now. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was just being outside more or if it was just the stress of being at work, segue. Um, but
That's
for
what I was
some,
trying to do earlier, but you just kept going. That's fine.
I'm like, I want to do it. But like for some
I
reason,
appreciate that. Respect that.
for some reason at the end of the day, I would take my contacts out and my eyeballs would be on fire for like
Hmm.
the next half hour, like on and off, even
Yeah.
with putting glasses on. It went away. It's weird. I don't know. It's done that. It's not the first time it's done that, but it's gone away since then. So I'm like, maybe my eyes have adjusted to work. I don't know. I can't
It,
explain. No
it
idea.
could be. It could be. Yeah. I don't know. The eyes are a mystery that I don't understand, but
Yeah.
that's okay. We don't have to solve any of those problems tonight on this podcast.
Yeah. Stress
Deb,
free.
you have some other things you want to share. Deb, when we logged on here, Deb's like, "This is gonna be a venting session." I'm like, "Oh, all right." So this may
No.
be it for me on this podcast, everybody tonight. It's good talking to you. I'll see you next week. Go ahead, take it away, Deb.
And it's me. It's only me from here on out. No, it's not going to be a venting session. It's just
With the
I
fiery
feel
redhead.
okay. Hang on.
Uh
So
oh.
no. This is a funny debate. It's funny you say that. So another side little, of course, here we go down different side trails. But lately, I've been having students come up to me and say that my hair is blonde. Like, and
Huh.
that's always been a 50-50 debate with, I don't know why they're there was at one point my class, half of them were like, she has red hair. The other half literally was like, no, she's blonde. And then I'm like, why are we talking about this? Who cares what my hair looks like? We need to move on with our lesson. Like, it's the weirdest thing. Like I had one girl, she's a TA now, and she was in my class last year, and she came down to my class to give me a pass for like another student. And she's like, yeah, I was really confused. The office ladies were saying who to give this to, and one of them kind of blanked on your name and told me it's the redhead teacher. And so I started laughing, and the student is like, you're blonde. You're like platinum blonde. And I'm like,
Wow.
Dina. And I had my hat on. I took my hat off. I took my hair down. And when I pointed, I was like, you think this is blonde? She's like, that's blonde. And so I've had it's so anyway, it's funny that you bring that up, because today it just brought it all up again for me today. Some people think I'm blonde, and it's either I'm redhead or blonde. A few of them think I'm strawberry blonde. This is not blonde. Does this look blonde? I'm so confused.
No, not at all. I've never once thought that. This feels like that blue dress, gold dress debate that happened a little while ago. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
That might be what's going on here. To some, it might just be one of those things where you are truly blonde to somebody's eye, and then the other person, it's really red.
I don't know. Apparently I'm blonde, but anyway, that was funny.
So, but it's red the technical term, not orange, right?
I mean,
what would you say?
Red is on my driver's license. I don't know.
We'll go, if it's on the driver's license, I would say red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orange. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but it's not blonde. I'm definitely not blonde. If anything, I'm strawberry. If you want to say strawberry blonde, that's even pushing it.
So don't say that. Just say Deb has red hair.
I'm not offended. It's just funny. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what people are looking at, but anyway.
I don't know. I do. That is funny that it's become a debate at your school.
It's a debate among my kids sometimes. So it's really weird. I'm like, you guys, like,
we'll put it out there on the poll.
We'll poll people. Is Deb's hair red or blonde?
Yeah. If it's 50-50 and we have a decent amount of people that chime in, then you may have to question whether, what's going on here.
Should we give an in-between choice?
Nope. You got to choose a side. No gray area here. Just red or blonde. That's it.
Red or blonde. Okay. Anyway, not important, but you said
red. That sounds like it was very important to some people. So let's not diminish that. It sounds like this is a big deal for some people. I'm not convinced that TA even had a real pass for you. I think she was trying to get a closer look.
I just,
you know what I mean? Well, investigation.
I was baffled. I literally even showed her my hair right up. Like, I was like, this is blonde. And she's like, yes. Okay. It's blonde.
Interesting. There's a picture that I have of you that we've used for like that one magazine that we were featured in. Not a big deal.
Oh yeah.
But
not a big deal.
Not a big deal. One of 10 podcasts. Pretty cool. And at that point we didn't have any pictures together. Actually, we didn't have any pictures together that were good. So I submitted a picture where you're wearing a green shirt, and it's like a school picture or something. I use it all the time when people ask me for your picture, which doesn't happen that often. But like if they need something,
I was like, who needs my picture? Like,
I don't know.
Okay.
They seem legit online. It's like, hey, who's your co-host? I'm like, here's her picture. Here's her phone number.
Here's her address.
You would love for you to reach out. No, like people have asked for sometimes for like stuff that we've done in the past. And, but in that picture specifically, your hair's very red.
Yeah.
You know what picture I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
It's like a school picture. It's like very, I don't think there's any debating whether or not it's blonde. Like that picture always sticks out because I've had to use it before. It's very red in that picture.
My hair does turn a blondish tint in the summer just because it's the sun just naturally bleaches it, but not enough. Like,
don't tell those people that because they'll run with it.
Right. I'll be like, fine, wait for winter.
Yeah.
But still, we're in California. The sun's always out. I work outside. I'm always outside.
Sure.
Okay. So
okay, well,
fun fact.
For another day, we'll get to the bottom of it at some point, but not tonight. Okay. So anyways, what did you want to talk about? So
I feel like I was telling you right before we started recording, for some reason, other podcasts that I'll tap into or that are, it's on my feed and I'm kind of scrolling, topics lately have been talking about like stress regulation and just how to cope and stuff. So it just got me thinking, what if we do an episode about stress management and time management? Because those seem to be, at least personally, my two focal points as of late. just, and I'm thinking of just, we're coming off of summer. It's September. Summer's officially over for everybody in terms of the typical like summer traveling, summer vacation. I think everybody is back in, all kids are back in school now at this point, I think, because it's after Labor Day. And even if you're not in the education, even if you don't have a job that allows you to take some time off in the summer naturally, like teachers or, whoever else, people still usually will take some type of time off to travel in the summer, especially if they have kids who have summer break. So anyway, that being said, for everybody, summer is over. And so it's kind of getting back into the swing of things, getting back into a school routine for families. And then of course, I'm biased because I'm a teacher. So, just for everybody in general. I feel like, and then, before we know it, holidays are going to come up around the corner. There's already Halloween stuff everywhere. Like it's just, and then after that it's Thanksgiving, and then it's just like boom, boom, boom. Like this fall is going to go by so fast.
That's a good pet peeve. I'm going to put that on my next pet peeve episode.
Right. It's earlier and earlier. I saw Halloween stuff at a Costco like a month and a half ago.
Well, Costco has Christmas stuff right now.
Okay, well, there's another pet peeve.
Which is wild. Like, why am I seeing? It's okay. We're gonna do it right now. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but like, we're not gonna save this for the pet peeve episode. This is stupid. Why am I seeing Santa Claus next to the Grim Reaper? It makes no sense. Like, this is stupid. I should not see those two things. And you're seeing, like the Christmas decorations, the lights, the inflatables next to all this Halloween candy. What are we doing here?
It's crazy.
Let's not rush this. Stop being stupid. I'm not singling out any store, just any store who does that. Don't do that. It's dumb.
Some people like to plan ahead. Not me, but some people.
I'm planning for like 3 Christmases ahead. This is silly. They have stuff that says, 2026 already. Like, what are we doing? This is dumb.
Yeah. So
that's a very optimistic way of looking at this, Deb. I'm just going to say this is dumb. Enough of this. And again, on this idea of, you mentioned school, same thing with school. I don't want to see, it's like I feel like people just get out for summer break and all of a sudden they're like, back to school. It's like, screw you. It's not time for school yet. We just got out of this thing. Don't put the back to school stuff. And, I just don't like it because then on these pictures, these videos and commercials, like everybody's super happy, like, back to school. Find me a person, a parent or a kid who's dancing all around the store with like all of this colorful stuff, getting excited for back to school shopping. It doesn't exist. Have you been to like Target, Walmart, any of these places when it's that time? There's very few smiles in that section because everybody's very unhappy and very stressed out.
Everybody, kids,
you know what I mean?
Everybody.
Yeah, parents are yelling at kids. Kids are, ignoring what their parents are saying. It's a whole mess. It is not like this Gap commercial where they're dancing around like, school's back. Not how it goes.
Right.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Deb.
No, yeah, that's a very good point. So
Thank you.
Thus brings me to my topic, just talking about stress and time management, because everybody deals with it. It doesn't matter what you do. It's life. Like everyone's stressed. Everyone, is busy, and time management can be an issue as well. Yeah. So I just have some focal points about some stress and time management stuff that I am personally dealing with, because that's all we do is we just go off of what we know in our own lives, because we're experts in nothing on here, FYI. So, and then I just have some tools and tips about, or more so just about how I deal with that. So, yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah. You want me to just go ahead and get started on what I have for you guys?
Yeah, let's hear it. I could jump in, but I don't need to.
You don't need to.
I don't need to.
Okay.
Try to show some restraint.
So just the simple fact that summer is over and just back to work in general, like that's just one of them, just in terms of like feeling the stress and feeling like, okay, like get back into a routine of things. And then I personally work multiple jobs. I always, at least for the past few years, have had more than one job. So in terms of like just trying to make sure that I'm on top of things and making sure that I'm keeping track of what I'm doing, with work, with school, and then my massage business. And then I used to work in Midtown. I haven't done that in a while on weekends, which has been a good stress reliever. So just just that fact of just back into like summer is totally over and I'm back into working all my jobs. So yeah, so there's that. And then
Can I ask you a question really quick about that?
Mhm.
Um, I hope this is not too personal of a question. If it is, just let me know. We'll just move on. But um, so since I've known you, I'm pretty sure you've had multiple jobs since we met. What, 4.5 years ago?
Mhm.
Um, now, is that something that you take on because it's a necessity for living, or is it something that you take on because you're someone that needs to stay busy, and if there's some time that you need to fill, obviously you hang out with friends and spend time with friends and travel and all that stuff besides your job, but I know some people need to just fill it in with something else besides just having nothing, or is it maybe a combination of both, where it's because like you said, a couple, like, what was it, last year? Yeah, last year you went to Europe.
Mhm.
Being able to do those things requires money,
Yeah.
and you don't have to have this second job to live. You could live without having that second job, but in order to do some of the things, like the more exciting things that you want to do, traveling, all that stuff, like it is something that you need to do.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious where you're at with all of that stuff, because I think depending on what lane you're in, I
Yeah.
think the level of stress and the kind of stress you deal with changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's all of the above. It
Okay.
is because financially, there are times when I do need it and would like it, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, and um, and I like staying busy.
Sure.
So yesterday was Labor Day, and I at one point was like, I don't know what to do because I didn't book any work for that day or anything, and I had a nice morning with my parents came up to visit, and I made them breakfast, and then they had to take off, and then I all of a sudden had the whole
Hold on, I'm sorry. You made breakfast?
made breakfast. Yes, I'm cooking now. Now, when I say cooking,
Okay. Okay. Let's
I
calm
just
down.
mean ground beef. Like I made like a taco bar. Like I made ground beef
For
and
breakfast?
eggs. Yeah, like
Okay.
like breakfast tacos.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, don't get too excited. That's all I'm doing these days is
Oh
making
no, I
ground
wasn't. I wasn't excited. I thought you were lying. That's what it
beef.
was.
No, that is my cooking capabilities these days. That's all I'm
Okay.
doing. It's easy.
Okay.
It's
Go ahead. So you made breakfast for your parents.
no. So yeah. Well, anyway, and I just had, and all of a sudden they left by 1, and all of a sudden I literally had nothing on my schedule for the rest of the day, and it's been a while since I'm like, what do I do? And so I ended up staying busy and working out and getting to bed early, but it was just, yeah, I have a need to like be productive. Yeah, it's a problem. So it's a problem, but it's also a good problem if I want to be productive, if I need more money. So I could like work anyway. It's
Well, do you,
it
but do you really think it's a problem though?
uh, I mean, and then I mean, this is part of what I wanted to talk about tonight too. Like, is part of it is, yeah, like I'm stressed with my multiple jobs, but I look at it as a point too. I get to work multiple jobs. I decide to do it. I put myself in that position, and I'm actually grateful that I have them so that I can support myself, A, and then B, support the lifestyle that I want as well.
Sure.
Like a single income in California. um I can very well, like I don't need to um like if I didn't want to work multiple jobs, like I know very well that I can get, I should move out and not live alone and like get roommates, like save money that way. Like there's multiple avenues to like deal with finances, but because I love my living arrangement so much, this is what I need to do
Sure.
to keep that. And so and just on the side, like I just want to see where this massage business takes me, so I know that that takes time and takes work and
Sure.
effort as well. So it's very multi-layered, and it's changed over the years, my needs. Like years ago I was in a lot of credit card debt from my divorce years
Hmm.
ago, so my needs back then were I have to work.
Hmm.
Like I'm in starvation mode if I don't work.
Right.
Then I got out of that, and then it kind of ebbed and flowed to where I'm like, okay, I have a little more flexibility, but then here comes focusing on paying back student loans, and then COVID hit, and then I don't know, maybe I'll lose my job, so I got to move in with roommates. So it every year I feel like it changes my
Sure.
wants and my needs financially. And yeah, and but I get to decide, and I get to do that. And so yeah, wanting to stay busy can be a problem because I can tire myself to death
Hmm.
almost. But also I that's how I get things done, and that's how I'm able to do what I want to do. At the end of the day, I'm very grateful for just being in the situation I'm in. And so but so it's kind of like, well, if you want to live this way or do these things, you have to do this. And that's life, right? You have to work hard for what you want. At least smarter, not harder, which is what I'm trying to do.
Sure.
But yeah. So yeah, so just the stress and time management of working multiple jobs, but I'll get to that point of like how I deal with that though. And then like you mentioned, like socializing with friends, like, so on top of, and when I'm talking about my things, I'm hoping it relates to whoever's listening, because this is definitely something that everyone can, I'm sure, relate to. Like when and I don't have kids, so I don't even have that stressor. So in parentheses, if I were, people who have kids, like I'm sure it ups the stress all the more just to kind of manage them and do that too. You have kids, so I'll let you speak to
I
that.
do. I do have kids.
You do have.
Supposedly they're mine. That's what I've been told these last 4 years. But there's always that potential for a surprise. Sorry, Rachel. She's heard
Whatever.
these jokes for the last 4 years. She's like so callous by all this stuff. She doesn't care. But yeah,
Yeah, she's like, whatever. She's like, yep.
pretty much. So
But so just, having time, carving out time. So you're working, and then people have families to take care of. And you're like, shoot, I gotta like socialize with friends too. I can't just, not can't, but like, that's also like a nice thing to do, to be able to at least catch up with, even if it's a phone call once a week with a friend, like is healthy, I think. So there's that. And then I have a tendency also to put too much on my plate, like too much, to where I'm running around and I'm looking at my schedule. And before I know it, my whole like month, Monday through Sunday, is just booked. And and that can be a problem too, in terms of socializing, working, just anything, any little tidbit thing. And then I sometimes have I'll sleep when it's done type of attitude. Or,
sure.
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah.
So there, not getting enough sleep is a huge, huge like hormone disruptor, and it can like, it actually like is twofold with your stress. So, so there's the sleeping issue and making sure I'm getting to bed on time. And then I also, like I want to say this last month, for my not squeezing in workouts in my schedule has been a huge issue for me. So
Hmm.
that's where I'm like, okay, I need to prioritize this. And I actually got sick with strep throat a few weeks ago. And so that put an even more like, cool, I haven't worked out in 2 weeks and now I'm sick, I can't work out this week. Like, so just like putting stress on myself about not working out, because working out is a stress reliever for me. So
Hmm.
then I get stressed about thinking about how I can't work out. It makes me
Sure.
more stressed.
Yeah.
So what else? Sometimes I'll when I overbook myself, then I get annoyed with myself. And then I run into this endless cycle of just complaining in my head about like how busy I am. And then I'm tired, but I do it to myself. And I lose sight of, look, you decided that you want to live this way, and you decided that you want to go on this vacation and this trip. So I have to like have a chat with myself and be like, you don't have to do those things. You can go, and so it's just kind of grounding myself and coming to terms with all that. But nevertheless, I still like will complain to myself about it. And then just like last but not least, like because of everything I just said, like I forget to take care of me, and I forget to prioritize my own, mental health, and doing things like this is very cliche, but it's a balance, like needing to make sure that you're okay so that you can keep doing what you're doing and
Sure.
not crashing and burning.
Sure.
So all that being said, so those are all my bulleted issues as of lately.
Okay.
uh,
You're dealing with some stuff.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and this is, I'm sure anyone listening can relate to at least a couple of those things. It's just time management and some stressors, and but I'm thankful for them, because it kind of it anyway. So I have some things that I wrote down, that how I deal with everything I just said.
Sure.
Do you want to add anything to it before I continue? I feel like I'm talking so much.
That's okay. We knew, like I told Deb before this, I said this is something that was kind of on your mind. So I figured you would kind of drive the ship here. So despite what it may seem like that I can't not talk, I can. I listen okay. So I expected you to share all that stuff. But I think the one thing that kind of, I guess, kept popping up as you were sharing what you did is the choice part of it. I do think that's why I was asking the question about kind of which lane you were in, because obviously, like you said, people are in different spaces. Have different lives, different responsibilities, different stresses, different things that cause them stress and anxiety. And so no one life or no multiple lives look the same, right? Like everybody's life looks a little bit different, and the things that bring them stress is a little bit different. And I do think that for people that we've talked about this before, where, just because I have kids and you don't, doesn't mean that my stress is more meaningful. My stress is more impactful than yours. It's just because you don't have kids. So it's like, that would be silly for me to say, well, you don't understand stress. Well, it's like, you don't have kids because you don't have that stress. So why would I expect you to understand that stress? It's silly. And that doesn't mean that you don't have stress. It just looks different. And so I think, that's one thing, but I think where I kind of kept going back to in my mind when you were talking is this idea of it. For some people, some of these things are a choice. And my level of empathy for people and their situation shifts depending on where that stress has come from and whether or not those stresses are a choice for them. Because, if you were in a great living situation where your finances were awesome, and I'm not talking to you specifically, I'm saying, like, if you were in a place where you had really solid finances, that you did more than well enough to just live every single day without stress, not having to worry at where food's coming from, how you're going to pay the bills. And you took on a second job because you were trying to get ahead, because you were trying to accomplish things beyond that. And it just became overwhelming and stressful and all these things. And you're complaining about that all the time. Just to be really honest, my level of empathy was not going to be that great, because I know that you don't have to do this. Like you said, you want to. And there's a difference there. When you want to do something, I believe, like you said multiple times, and I appreciate what you said about being grateful, because I think when there is that, you're able to, you're grateful that you can work a second job. It's a very different mindset than going out there because you want something, getting a second job, and then complaining the whole time because you have that second job. So you don't need it, and I am questioning whether or not you really want it. I think the idea of having more money in your bank account is really nice, but it doesn't match up with the level of effort you're willing to put in to get there. And so now the rest of us are stuck listening to you complain every single day for something that you don't have to do. And you look at a situation where you have a single mom with 3 kids and her husband passed away, or something happened where they're no longer together. That's really difficult. That's not by choice. That is a tough situation. If you have a family that has a child with special needs that requires way more attention and care than a child that doesn't, that's stressful. If you lose your job versus you don't like your job, that's a very different stress. And so, sometimes when I hear people complain about certain things, like we always say, people have a different level of, or a different way of handling stress. People have a different tolerance for those things. People have different stresses. But when it comes down to you're doing something that you want to do versus something you have to do, it's a very different thing. I do have a tough time with that sometimes because I think there's this lack of gratitude, that you've said a couple of times where I'm thankful that I have the ability to do this and it's something I want to do. And your work ethic matches up with the thing you're trying to accomplish, even though it still gets stressful. And it doesn't mean the stress goes away, but like there's just a different mentality when it comes to that. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
I've just always had an issue with people complaining about things that they don't have to do. It's like, hey, if it's causing that much of a stress, and again, it's the same thing. Like, so we look at it from, okay, I'm going to put in all this work and I'm going to do this extra work so I can get more money, right? Or obtain this thing that I want to obtain. Well, if it's that stressful, then you got to flip it, right? You have to do a complete 180 where you say, okay, I need to give up the work, this extra work that I don't have to do so that I can get the thing that I really want, which is less stress or rest, right? So you got to like have to like flip your mindset and think, okay, the money is not as much as I thought it would be. It's not as meaningful as I thought it would be. I want the rest. I want the relaxation. I want this stress level to go down. So you got to flip it. So you can give up the extra money so you can get the thing that you really want. But like, I feel like people don't make that switch sometimes, but they aren't self-aware enough to know it's like, I don't have the work ethic to do this. And so, you know what I mean? So they complain to everybody.
Oh yeah. And then misery loves company, right? Like
Sure.
some people I think just like to complain. I'm not saying I've never done that or anything, but like
Everybody complains. Yeah.
everybody complain. Right, exactly. But like I like just being, just going to school for massage school, and everyone in my life knows that I've been extremely busy almost every single weekend for almost a year now. Not every weekend, but like most weekends. Now, I not even I don't go around being like, oh, like I can't stand it. I have massage school. No, like I signed up for it. I'm literally like paying to go do this because I want to. Now, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that there's some weekends where my friends are like, "Hey, we're doing this weekend," and it doesn't mean that I don't look at my schedule and go, "Oh, dang it, like I can't go, I have massage school," but just the part is the dang it, I can't hang out with them, my friends, not the I'm going to massage school. It's dang it, I'm missing out on something. But I also know that like, okay, like, oh, I'm not going to be doing this forever. Like, this is what I chose to do. This is just how it is for now.
Right.
And I knew it and everyone else knows it. And I'm very grateful that I get to do it. I actually consider it for myself, like not only am I grateful for it, but I consider it a luxury that I get to do that and I get to put myself through school and learn all these skills so that I could create this side business that I can create it however I want to create it. And even the not having kids part, I feel like it's a luxury on my end. I don't have to worry about anyone else's schedule right now. It's just all on me. And so it's definitely, yeah, I don't have to work multiple jobs. I can easily, I've been doing this financial game with myself for so long about like how I know I can, if I don't want to work, like let's say I just want to teach and go home and do nothing and relax and work out and then relax. I can get a roommate, or I can go, not do this lease here and see and like find a room for rent for way cheaper,
Right. Right.
so that is all available to me. So now it's a back and forth, right? It's not a that I complain in my head like, oh my god, I'm so busy. It's the whole like, okay, here's my schedule for this week. Okay, yep, can I do that? Sure, let me do it. And then a week later I'm like, shit, I'm like booked all, like I'm too booked. But it's not I regret that I booked it. It's okay, you need a priority. I have to have a talk with myself and say, you need to make sure you can work out, then make sure you get to bed on time, make sure you're eating. So just like I have to make sure the essentials can get woven into that as well.
Sure.
So that's the stressor I'm talking about. And that is that make sure you take care of yourself because you're going to get cranky really quick is what I have to tell myself. Like, so my issue lately has been like, I haven't prioritized working out. Like I have a half marathon coming up and I have not been running at all. So I'm like, okay. So I looked at my schedule and I'm like, well, you don't have time to work out after work at all. at all. I'm just booked through the evening, which I'm so grateful for. So I'm like, okay, so you have to work out at work on your break. So like
Sure.
just things like that. Like I have to have talks with myself to prioritize the things that are still important to me. And so that's one of the solutions in my list that
Sure.
I have, is just prioritizing that. And then the whole concept of just summer's over and going back to work. So I focus on that I get to have a summer break, and it was great while it lasted. There are some summers where I get to travel and go to cool places, and some summers where I have to work the whole time so that I can travel the next summer.
Sure.
So just like the whole concept of it was great while it lasted, back to work. That's just the way it goes. Um, and yeah, and again, just reminding myself that I'm grateful that I get to work multiple jobs and that I have the energy to work multiple jobs, that I'm healthy, that I have like my body's cool, like I have like, just those little simple things, that I can just do it if I want to, and I don't have to do it if I don't want to do it. But definitely along the lines of carving out time to like do things that are important to me, like making sure I work out and stay healthy and eat healthy. Also carving time out of my calendar to hang out with my friends at least once a week or something. And if I can't, then at least stay like in touch with them, like phone calls or texting or something. I don't want to get too busy to where fall off the rails with my friends, and they don't hear from me and I don't hear from them. So that contact to me is very important. And then I also have a tendency, like I said, to stay busy and to like hustle, 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 and like work, work, work. And like, you know, I always have a new side adventure, and right now it's massage, and I love it. I enjoy helping people relax. It's therapeutic for me as well, and it's just I think it's a cool thing. But also being mindful to myself to not hustle too much. Like I'll get overexcited, and I will just squeeze people in everywhere, any
Mm.
little time that I have, like spare time that I have. So I'm trying to take the days off that I need to take off, like the weekends, or at least one day where I don't schedule anybody, just because I just need to not schedule anybody. But at the same time, I'm also like, I'm so grateful that like I get to book people. Like that is awesome. And so there's that too, but making sure that I can give myself a day off at least. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting thought, because I think like the first thing that popped in my head with that was this idea of like when you talk about hustle, right? You're talking about hustling and getting out ahead of yourself sometimes because you're so excited about whatever you're doing. That is the interesting thing about passion, right? Because there's these times where we get so engulfed by the thing that we're pursuing, this passion that we have inside of our hearts, that we do get overexcited sometimes. And sometimes if we don't understand the capacity that we have to handle stress and to manage our time and to really grind and keep pushing and seeing how far we can actually get. I think that is a funny thing about passion, right? Like we can get too far out ahead of ourselves. And then all of a sudden that passion that was driving us at one point has now become almost like the enemy of us. Because we look back, it's like, oh my gosh, I just left this massive wake of like crap behind me. And it was because I was so excited, but now I have this mess I have to deal with because I overscheduled things, I overbooked things. I'm losing my mind because I was so excited. And now my passion's kind of lessened almost because I've allowed myself to get stressed out
Yeah.
over being too excited about it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's something that I don't think we really talk about or look at it in that way. Usually it's like, I'm so excited, I'm passionate about this, and that's the thing that's helped me keep moving forward. But I do think there are moments where that passion can make us run a little too fast, faster than we're really capable of handling. And then all of a sudden we're stumbling, over something that used to be a lot of fun that we used to love. Now it's kind of a hindrance because we just didn't manage it correctly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I have to remind myself that too. I'm like, slow down. Like you can tell
Yeah,
people no, or tell people, hey, I'm not available here, but here's where I'm like, I just get so excited.
sure.
I'm just like, this is so cool. Like, I'm glad I get to help people. And like I'm getting people coming back to me. Like great. That means they feel good, and that means it's helping them, because that's the industry that is massage therapy. It's like help whatever their need is, helping them relax or whatever, or maybe it's like muscle relief, or just it's a luxury for them, whatever.
Sure.
It's helping people get to the mindset and the mental relief that they need. And so anyway, yeah, I get overly excited. And I'm like, here, I have all these openings. And then I'm surprised when they book, and I look at my schedule and I'm like, shit,
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to eat today. And so it's just that will become my issue. Is
Sure.
that it's not that I regret that I'm so quote busy and go, go, go. It's that I'm like, okay, you need, first of all, hang on, because when are you going to work out today? When are you going to eat today? And what time are you going to get to bed tonight? So it
Sure.
does become an inner focus of which that has been a huge shift for me over the years, rather than get stressed and like, start kind of bitching to myself about things. It's turned to more of, I'm happy that I get to do this, but now where am I going to be able to take care of my needs within this schedule that I created for myself?
Sure.
So that's been something that I've had to take into account, just getting back into the swing of things and managing my time. When I manage my time well, my stress level goes down. And so that's why those two things can be easily interwoven, stress management and time management. I think they go hand in hand for sure.
Yeah. So sorry, just to add on to that, I think the reason why those two things go hand in hand is because I think when you manage your time well, that takes one of the stresses away, right? Because you're in the moment, you're not thinking, okay, how am I gonna fit the workout in? How am I gonna do all these things? That side of it's almost already taken care of. Like and I think Erin Salvetti mentioned this when she was on our podcast. She was saying how it becomes like you schedule it like you schedule an appointment with the eye doctor or the dentist, right? At 10 o'clock in the morning, or whatever time I work out. And so then you kind of plug and play different things around that, right? But at that point, that's what you're going to do. And so it takes off that whole idea of planning and trying to figure out where it fits in. That's not even part of your thought process anymore, because it's already taken care of, right? It's just done. That's why people use for social media. You have all those social media tools, right? That you can plan your post ahead of time. So in the moment, which we don't use, surprise, surprise. You can probably tell from our posts, is like, this is not a professional thing at all. But people use those as a way to manage their social media posting, and so they can get it out there, and they don't have to think every single week, like, okay, I need to post it this time, and I need to do it this way, and I need to post. It's like they're ahead of the game, and they're already doing it, so it's automatically doing it for them. It's just one more thing off their plate. So you're really trying to just like clear your plate, right? That's basically what you're doing with time management. Like if you have a plate full of food, you're just kind of removing pieces here, pieces there, just so your plate feels a little cleaner, a little less full. And that's why I think that time management is so important, because it's just one less thing to think about.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just a part of that is, it's just like today it hit me. Okay. So yesterday when I had nothing to do and I was all stressed about having nothing to do, I finally went for a jog outside, because I'm like, okay, it's not 100 degrees. Cool. I hate running on a treadmill. I'll do it, I guess, if I have no choice, but like,
It's not fun.
I would rather run outside. I want fresh air. I want the sun to hit my face. I want to move and go through my neighborhood. It's the most healthiest thing mentally for me, and just physically too. And so anyway, so yesterday I went for a jog. I was just mortified at myself. Like I could barely do 2 miles without like feeling like I'm dying. And so I'm like, this is not good. I have 13 miles to run. I have a half marathon at the end of this month. Not that it's a race, or that I don't care what time I get. I don't care. I'm just going to do my best. But still, I'm like, no, I need to start running again, or else I'm going to be so dead the next day. I'm just afraid of how I'm going to feel the next day. Right. Because I know me, and I know I'm just going to, without training, I'll just try to run the whole thing without stopping no matter what. So anyway, so I ran yesterday. And so today I'm like, I need to work out during my break at work. I got to do it. So I forced myself to go run a bleacher mile on my prep period. And it doesn't take the whole, even if it's like 20 minutes, I got to go do it. So I
Very
had to
nice.
officially today carve out some time during my break to just start working out. And And I've been meal prepping really good. I've been doing it all summer, so it's carried
Ah,
over to now. So I'm like got my food down, I think. So I've been proud of myself with that. But
very nice.
my next thing I need to get down is my sleep, because I'll be ready for bed. And in my head, I'm like, you need to be in bed by 10. You need to be asleep by 10. Like, just do it. And then before I know it, I'm reading a book and it's 11, or I'm on the phone with a friend and it's 11:30. And I'm just like,
Sure.
what are you doing? Go to sleep. Cause I'll get a second wind. I'll be exhausted by like
Hmm.
6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, like done, like wanting to pass out. And then I get a second wind, not even with this, with podcasting, we joke about how it's my bedtime and stuff, but just like I'll take a shower and it kind of wakes me up.
Sure.
And then I kind of like get my stuff ready for the next day. And of course, I'm either texting a friend or on the phone with a friend too,
Right.
like something. And so my goal right now is always to be in, to like, just go to sleep, just lay down and go to sleep, get your sleep, because that's another big thing that can like seep into your day to day if you're not getting enough sleep. Can
Sure.
totally, and how you feel the next day and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to cut alcohol from my life, not permanently, but just at
Did you do
least.
this? Did you do this last year?
I mean, I've done like dry January before.
Oh,
I've done,
January. That's what it was.
and I'll go in and out. Like I'll be like, nah, or thankfully I'll be too busy to buy alcohol, so I just don't have any in my house. So I just am like, well, um, but I've also been, even if I do like have a bottle of wine in my house, my goal is like to not drink right before bed. Like I
Hmm.
would have to have a glass of wine right before I go to sleep, and it kind of gets me sleepy, but it totally disrupts your sleep, makes you feel different the next day. So that has, my meal prepping and my limiting of alcohol has been super helpful. So I know that that's something that I need to keep doing. Now, that being said, I am going to a wine festival this weekend. So
There it is.
so so I've had to like be like,
That's
okay, just
funny.
look forward to the wine festival. Don't drink now. You can
It's like I'm taking a break from it. I am drunk right now for this podcast, but other than that, and the wine thing, but other than that, I'm good. I'm not gonna do it anymore.
I'm good. But yeah, so anyway, I'm just learning about sleep and how it affects me. The older we get, it changes, and whatever.
Sure. I
So
have not
sleep,
learned that yet. My sleep is not great, but
you
um,
have children, you have small children,
it's not
so
their fault. I'm not going to blame that. I can't blame
like I
that.
can't even blame them.
No, I can't blame them. I was like, I'm a night owl. I stay up. It's a problem. I'm too old to do it, but I still do it. So,
Well,
um,
there you go. You need
yeah,
you and I both need that discipline of like, just go to bed, get your sleep, just do it. Um,
maybe. No. So good for you. I can't commit to that right now, but yeah, maybe. So, no, I did want to ask you. So obviously, like you said, we've joked about this before. I'm not even saying this in a joking way, although I've done it so many times over the years. Um, this podcast, this podcast is not something that we don't make money doing this podcast. It does take an hour and what's that?
I want to.
We would love to. I'm working on it.
I know.
Not a businessman.
Josh is working.
You know,
Josh.
I look up some articles. That's the extent of it. But again, it takes up an hour of your evening. Back in the day, it used to take up longer because we would actually record in person, and so you'd have to drive somewhere, drive back. And then obviously, it just takes time. It just takes time. So that being said, like, have you? I mean, in all seriousness, have you ever considered? It's even weird asking this question because I've joked about this so much. But like it's obviously something that you don't need to do, right? Like I think we have a good time doing it. We have a good time talking to the guests that we chat with and meeting people, but like it's not something you need in your life, right? So like has there ever been a point where you're like, I mean, I just have to like really take a break from the podcast thing, not just that month or two that you did that one time, but like really be like, okay, this is I'm done with this. Or what I'm saying? Or is there a reason why you haven't? Because we've talked before in all seriousness, like if you need to, I get it. It's not a problem. But again, like when I hear your schedule, I'm like, this would be an easy thing to just say like, I'm done with this because it's fun, but can't do it. You know what I'm saying?
I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. And I have taken like, there's been like a few years ago, I remember, I think I took like a 2 month break or like a month and a half. I remember
Like
I
a
was
month and a half.
so
Yeah.
overwhelmed. But that was like right after COVID's work. I was about to quit. I'd be like, I don't care. I'll work at Starbucks. I'm not teaching anymore. Like I was like at that point to where like I was so stressed with work. So I think that's when I took a break from
Yeah.
podcasting. Okay. But it's actually podcasting is another way form of self-care for myself because I enjoy talking about topics, especially topics like this. Any solo episode we do is just always either fun or informative. I love learning about the guests that we have. Like I think last week or 2 weeks ago or whenever I text you and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Here we go. I overbooked myself and I was like, I cannot like I scheduled massages that day and I don't know why I did. I don't know what I was thinking. Like kind of that type of thing where I let myself become overwhelmed. But a part of me is like this is actually a nice break for me because I'm not maybe it's because we're not getting paid and it's something that we do for ourselves and it's
Sure.
something we just like talking, we like having conversations. um I will say that if it weren't for you for booking people and keeping up on it, I don't know if it would have lasted because I already went sideways on my other one. I'm not here to judge. I'm like,
Wasn't going to
well,
bring that up. I was going to bring that
no.
up. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is because you're so on top of it and it makes it easy for me that I just hop on and I get to be a part of conversation when you're doing all the hard work in the background and booking people and everything. So I get to continue doing it. Otherwise, there's no way that I could. That's why I'm not recording Not Here to Judge, and I haven't for a while because I do see all the work that went into it, like recording it, putting it together in GarageBand, uploading it to the app, and then advertising it on social media. Like, and that was a fun learning process and stuff. But it did after a while. I'm like, I don't even have time. I can't do it. At
Yeah.
least not right now. It's a lot. So
Yeah.
that being said, if it were left to like if it was just me doing it, like it probably would be abandoned, like my Not Here to Judge one. But I do enjoy coming on and talking and about whatever topic it is that we have planned or learning about who the guest that's coming on.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. No, I was just curious because like I said, in my mind, like just kind of hearing your schedule, and trying to put myself in your shoes. I'm like, that would be an easy one. Like similar to like what you said about uh hanging out with like friends, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you can't do some of those things because you have things on your schedule that take priority. And it's kind of in a similar boat. It's like this is not something that's like it could be easily either rescheduled or removed from the schedule. And it seems like it would make sense, especially when you're that busy in that season. But that makes sense. Everything
Yeah.
that you just said. And so that's what we've talked about this before. And I've made this joke before, this analogy before, where like with the podcasting thing, for me, even though it takes work, and I don't even do the same amount of work that I know other people do for their own podcasts, where they're really getting in the weeds with some of the stuff, the technical stuff. I'm not smart enough to do it, so I don't. And like people seem to like how it sounds, I must stick with it. But I think I've been in this podcast relationship for a long time. Like I've loved podcasts for a long time, and so it's something I've wanted to do for a very long time. I don't know if it was ever something that you thought about doing prior to us having that first interaction and first conversation. So for me, it's like
I thought I was just going to be a guest.
where you thought you were going to be a guest, like, oops, I didn't communicate that very clearly.
5 years is it 5 years? 5 years
Something
later?
like that. Like, yeah, probably pushing 4.5, 5, something like that. Yeah. And so, but so for me, it's like, it looks very different, but that's why that kind of leads me into my next question I had for you about this whole stress and time management. Do you think, because you hear people often say like, I get stressed really easily, right? Or I don't get stressed at all, or this person never seems to be stressed, right? And so even, like for me, for this podcast thing, some of it's, I think, passion, and some of it, I think I've found a routine that works really well for me as far as the editing, the recording, it's kind of set how I do it now. And so I just, even though there's nights when like, I don't want to record this episode. I don't want, or not record. I don't want to, it's never the recording. For me, it's always the post stuff, like the editing, the finding the clips. Like I just don't want to do it. But like if I stay kind of in that groove, I'm good. Right. And like we talked about, you manage it in a certain way and it takes the stress away from it. But that being said, do you think there is something to this idea of some people get stressed easily and some people don't stress out at all? Or is it those people have found a way to manage it where the person who does not get stressed is maybe better at understanding what stresses them, understands how to prioritize things, even if they don't realize it themselves and do it intentionally, they just have a better grasp on how to prioritize everything. And the person who gets stressed out really easily doesn't? Or do you think, is there a combination of both where some people are just more prone to stress, even if they have it down and their time is managed well, there's still something inside of them that is going to sway that direction. And then someone else is just like, they're a little bit more carefree, a little bit more laid back. They may not have the time management stuff down, but there's just, they lean more that direction where if stuff starts getting crazy, their heartbeat's not going to raise, right? They're going to stay calm where everybody else is losing their mind. It's like, well, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying? So do you think there's something to that, or is it maybe a combination of both?
I think it's just a combination of all of it. Like I think there are people who are very just super lax, just
Sure.
like thing, like kind of nothing really gets to them, and it's just they're very just carefree. Some of my friends I think would put me in that category because some of them have nicknames for me that imply that I'm just like go with the flow and whatever, and to a degree I
Wait,
am.
can you share those nicknames?
Gypsy. I don't know if I'm allowed to say gypsy
Well,
these
you've
days.
said it multiple times on this podcast, so that's fine.
I did. I don't even remember. See, I don't even remember what I say. So, like, yeah, my friends call me gypsy because they're like, you just kind of do whatever. And I'm like, well, how else am I going to live? And they're just like, and there's a joke that many of my friends say, we don't know how I've supported myself all these years and we don't know how I'm living alone. But I mean, that's like an extreme joke, but it's anyway, it's
No, I just
so
love that I love that your explanation for that whole thing was like, well, how else am I supposed to live? What do you guys do?
what we do. Yeah. Well,
It's like I said, like, how do you turn the light on in this room? It's like, we flip the switch, of course. It's like, it's that simple.
exactly.
Good for you, Deb. Good for
Exactly.
you.
So, yeah. But okay, so then I feel like and then because I feel like if people think I'm carefree, I tell them you need to meet my brother-in-law then, my
Hmm.
sister's husband, because he is the most chill person I've ever met. Just like I don't think I've ever seen him stressed,
Wow.
like ever, and that's not, I don't
Yeah.
see them every day, but I've known him, they've been married. I've known him for, I lost track, I don't know, 15 to 20 years now. Like I'm
Okay.
him for, and that's how long they've been together for.
Wow.
But just super, super chill. So anyway, so there's that, and then there's on the very other end of the spectrum, I do think some people have this innate, um, you know, I don't know if it's like genetics or maybe it's just something, I don't know what it is, but like there are people who are super stressed out, and I've met those people and ran into those people, and I'm dealing with a bunch of high school teenagers who are like that right now, just like not knowing how to handle anything.
Well, and they're still trying to figure out who they are as a
Well,
person too, right?
right. And so I guess we can, let's exclude teenagers from that then, but just like adults, like
Sure.
just stressed out, like everything stresses them out, and just kind of working themselves up for, just kind of like, I look at those people and I'm like, take a deep breath. But that's easy for me to say, right? Because
Well, no, I'm smiling. No, I'm sorry. I'm smiling because I'm similar to that. I don't know if you get this way, but sometimes, because I don't get stressed very easily, and it takes quite a bit. Like I was telling Rachel the other day, there was a point where I was a little bit stressed, and it was like a combination of all these different things that hit me at once. Right? It's got to be like a full on attack for me to really feel stressed. Things here and there, it's not that bad, but the reason I smile is because I feel like, and I don't know if you feel this way. Sometimes I actually get more stressed when I see someone else losing their mind about something, because I'm the same way, which I know telling someone to relax is always not always the best thing to do. I get that.
Yeah.
Internally though, I'm like, okay, let's slow down for a second. Like, is it really that bad? And so I have a tendency to do that in my mind, but then I start getting more stressed. I'm like, why am I stressed? It's not my problem. But I think it's more just watching someone lose their mind and just get engulfed by the chaos sometimes causes me to get a little bit more anxious. I'm like, why you want to do something, but you really can't do anything at that point other than say like, hey, maybe just take a breath real quick. So yeah. So I don't know if that's what you're saying, but like that, I get stressed by someone else being stressed sometimes.
I will get stressed by it if it starts like affecting me. Like
Sure.
if it's some of my friends and now it's kind of affecting things that we're doing. I'm
Sure.
like, no, we're done. Like, go off and go be stressed by yourself. Then, if you're not going to calm down, you're ruining our vibe. That doesn't happen a lot.
But
I
you did do the two hands, like calm
yeah,
down. So you know you're serious.
yeah. But so there's opposite ends of the spectrum in that point, and I think there is a middle ground where people maybe do get stressed easily, but they've developed good coping skills over however their years, therapy, whatever, on their own or whatever. And so I
But
feel like
coping is different than management, or would you consider those two things the same?
managing stress, you mean?
Yeah, managing stress versus coping with it.
That's a good question, actually. Maybe both. Maybe I feel like managing your stress is a coping mechanism, but maybe not necessarily.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm
I don't know.
not.
That question felt wrong for our podcast.
Just disclaimer once again, Josh and I are not experts at anything. We are not medical professionals. We are.
That's like I did like a cannonball into the deep end and realized I don't know how to swim. That was dumb.
I don't know. But yeah, there is a middle ground
Sure.
where um and there are times, and I'm not even trying to say I'm super chill, like how I described my brother-in-law is
Sure.
super chill. I feel like sometimes I can be in the middle at most, I think, but I'll it's something that like I'll get passionate about something and then it'll come off as stress, but it's something that like no, like I'm trying, like this is, especially when it has to do with work or it has to do with like friends that are going through things and I'm trying to like help them come up with solutions. So I'll get passionate about it. Now I usually don't, like I don't lose sleep over it, you know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day it's like, okay, my thoughts and feelings are mine, that's theirs, and what else can I do?
Sure.
There's a lot of things out of I think a lot of people put things in their control that's not in their control. There's a lot of
Sure.
things, so many things that are outside of our control that we want to have control over, but we can't. And I think people can't differentiate between the two sometimes. And I'm only saying that because I've been there and I've experienced it. So
That's a good point. That's probably where a lot of stress comes from for people.
yeah,
Is you're so stressed out about the thing, like even just like thinking about the thing that you can't control,
yeah,
that it prevents you from even trying to find a solution or a better path, right? You're just fixated on this idea of, I wish I could do something about this, but you know,
yeah,
you end up doing nothing, right? Because you're so stuck on that idea of not being able to control something. And I bet you a lot of stress comes from people not being able to control stuff.
yeah. Well, and a lot of people want to have great intentions and want to be super helpful and want to like come up with a solution for someone, when sometimes simply just being there and just being like, just for example, let's say someone's going through a death or
Sure.
something tragic, let's say something bad. Sometimes the solution for a friend or someone else in their life is like, okay, how do I help them? Let me think of a solution. Da, da, da. And that person, like, that's the last thing they need is the solution, is they just need you to be there. And it's hard. It's so hard for people just to be like, you can't try to control the situation and you can't just magically make it better for someone. And I'm saying this example because I think that can fall under people having good intentions but making the situation more stressful than it should be. And it's
Yeah.
like, all you have to do is just be there. And again, I say it because I used to want to come up with solutions
Mm-hmm.
for, instead of just being there and just kind of relaxing and just kind of understanding that there's nothing you can do about this, and you have to be okay with it for now, at least.
Yeah. Well, I think, and it kind of ties in this again, this whole concept of our podcast and connection and connecting with people. That is a tough place to be in for an outside party. When someone's going through something, you have the heart and desire to help that person. But like you said, sometimes that's counterproductive. And so you do need to just step back and be ready if an opportunity presents itself, but not just jump in trying to force an opportunity to present itself, right? Like you got to wait there and just be ready if that person is asking for assistance or needs help or wants to talk or wants someone to be there for them. And you also have to trust and hopefully you have a good enough connection with that person where, because I think sometimes people's fear of just sitting back and waiting for someone to ask for them to help is that if they don't ask for help, is that person going to think that they weren't there for them, right? And so it is a very weird balancing act that you have to do as that third party looking in. Like you want to help, but you can't always jump in. And you have to trust that you guys have a good relationship, a good connection, and you understand, and that person understands that even though you're not jumping in, you want to really badly, and you're just being respectful of them and you're not doing it. You know what I'm saying? So there's a weird thing there, which I can understand why those types of situations can be really stressful for both sides.
Yeah. Anyway, tangent on that with how to, when you asked about people who have, are stressed easily or not stressed easily, I think that can fall into a middle ground category where they accidentally make a situation more stressful.
Right. Sure.
Unintentionally. So I think it's, yeah. So there's all kinds. And it's just, but anyway, at the end of the day, for me, and like the things that like I have to tell myself is that I need to take a deep breath and like give myself grace if I overbook myself and just say, okay, don't do this next time. Make sure you take time in to do your self-care and the things that are important to you. Like right now, the things that are important to me to make sure that I'm good is to make sure I'm eating good, I'm exercising, and I'm getting enough sleep. Those are my essentials right now. And then I think everything else kind of takes care of itself because I know I'm capable of doing everything else. And I'm very grateful that I get to do everything else. But if I don't do those 3 things, then something's going to be off, and then I'm going to be stressed, and then I'm going to start being ungrateful, and then I'm going to start complaining to myself why, that I overbooked myself, and then I kind of lose sight of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right. No, that's great. Yeah. I was gonna mention this too. When I was playing, it's a little bit different, but when I was playing high school baseball, our coach, when it came to, and you know this, especially being a softball player, like softball, especially in high school, college, softball dugouts are just way more rowdy, way more exciting than like a baseball dugout. But even at the high school level, this idea of, cheering on your teammates, not attacking the pitcher with, taking shots at the pitcher or anything like that. But our coach would always say, you're trying to blow up the balloon, right? So if you can cause more stress for the pitcher on the mound while we're up to bat, by making noise, by making, getting hit, drawing a walk, doing all these different things, then what you're really doing is you're blowing up that pitcher's balloon, right? And you just keep blowing it up, blowing it up, blowing it up. And at some point, the balloon's going to pop because everything's going to fall apart. They've given up 4 hits in the inning. They've walked 3 guys. They're hearing the noise from the crowd, the cheering from the opponent because everything's going right for them. Nothing's going right for the pitcher. And eventually that balloon explodes and everything falls apart, right? And I think it's the same thing for us just as individuals when we deal with stress, right? Like you're kind of, you kind of have to be careful. Like we have this capacity to take on a lot of things, but the balloon is only so big. And at some point the balloon could easily pop. And once it pops, like stuff is everywhere. And we're not at all where we want to be. But there's this, this idea that it's like, well, if I can blow it up a little bit more because it can get a little bigger, or I can blow up a little bit more, I can take on a little bit more, I can add more to my plate because, this thing stretches. I have the capacity to do it. But like, I think everybody, no matter who they are, has a breaking point at some point. And I think the idea is you want to be able to take on as much as you possibly can without reaching that breaking point. Because I think once you hit that breaking point, like I think chaos ensues, and that's just not a place you want to be.
Yeah, we're human. We're not robots. So Definitely is. We think we can do everything. If, there's people like myself who think that they can just do everything and it's fine and you don't need to sleep and you can eat later and you can exercise when you have time. This is more important. But then there does come there's a breaking point and it catches up to you. And then yeah, you can't do that forever. So you have to find a sustainable way to if you like staying busy like me, you have to find a sustainable way to
Right.
stay busy
Yeah.
to continue that. But yeah, there's breaking, everyone has their breaking point. So I think it's just really important to, anyway, my takeaways for this topic and what we're talking about is for you as an individual, like what is important to you, like what is necessary right now in your life to like you need for sure to make sure that you're being taken care of. And I think those need to be prioritized within your schedule no matter what. And then everything else will fall into place.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
A different priority. Mine's going to be completely different than like yours or someone else's. You just have to find out what they are.
Right. And I was just going to say, I think going back to this, and I always go back to this, I think the work ethic thing is the work ethic part of it is interesting too, because I think that varies from person to person. I think some people, their work ethic is just relentless. You know, you're probably one of those people where it's like you can push, you have the ability and the mindset to push yourself pretty far. And, it's probably going to take you a lot longer to get stressed out and overwhelmed than it might be for someone else whose work ethic is not quite up to that same standard. And so, but that on the flip side of that, though, too, I think there are some people that, I'm not here to judge, but, I think sometimes you do question the work ethic. Have you really challenged yourself, or have you allowed yourself to get overwhelmed really easily? You know what I mean? Like there is a certain point where I'm like, I just can't believe that all like these few things have overwhelmed you to this point. Cause I feel like it does,
Right.
it doesn't, I mean, that sounds pretty judgmental, but like there are some times where I've heard people talk like that has you overwhelmed. I'm not sure how, because I feel like you have a lot of time to do these things and not be stressed at all. So it's like, it makes me question sometimes the work ethic. But again, on the flip side of that, you have other people that the work ethic is so strong that they have to rein it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes any sense, but like,
that
not
does.
to diminish someone's stress, but there are times where I'm like, like that's why I keep saying like when you're going after something, your work ethic has to match the thing that you're going after. Because if it doesn't, you're not going to make it. And if you have no work ethic, like don't even try, because you're going to have no motivation to even start to move in that direction towards the thing you're passionate about. And you're going to be stressed right off the bat because
Yeah.
you have no like desire or to work for anything.
Yeah.
So of course, like the idea of like, man, I have to do what? You haven't even
Yeah.
started the project and you're just already overwhelmed and stressed because your work ethic just can't handle it. So I don't know. I always come back to that. And I know that sounds incredibly judgmental. It's not meant to be, because like I said, I know people get stressed out about different things, but there are some times where I'm like, I don't know. It just makes me question. It makes me question.
Yeah. I think everyone has different work ethics for sure. I see it in my teenagers at school every day.
Yeah. Look at your mile times, right? Very different.
Yeah, just don't get me started. On when kids like, I'm dying. I'm like, no, you're not. You're fine. It
Right.
just they jog for literally 30
Yeah.
seconds. They're like, I'm done. And I'm like, you're done? What? I can go on and on. But
It's a different podcast.
everyone has different uh capacity, work ethic, threshold, whatever. Everyone's different.
Yeah. But so there's one last thing. I know we're trying to get out of here, but like that's an interesting side of it, I guess. And I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes I feel like for some people, this idea of stress, sometimes it is you need to manage your time better and you need to manage the stress better to be the most effective person you can be. I do think for some people that are feeling stressed, I think it's a matter of, I think you need to strengthen your work ethic. Or let's be honest, I think you need to strengthen your toughness a little bit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, and as you're saying that, and then you mentioned this earlier, I just to go out piggyback of what you off, like there's situations like you were talking about, like single mothers and people who are in just crazy, like tragic situations to where like those are like real like stressors in terms of like PTSD. So like,
Right.
and I just want to make a disclaimer that like we're kind of not touching up on that type of stress, at least in
Sure.
this podcast. But I just want to make it noted that that is a totally different, that's a whole nother podcast in
Hmm.
terms of, there are things that people have experienced that I will never understand that is super stressful. So there's that too. But just in terms of like just a day-to-day, like that's what we're talking about, like stress and management and time management. But I just wanted to you had mentioned it earlier, like there are some people who are going through some really incredible hard times that they have no choice, and they're doing their best that they can do.
Right. Well, and again, I guess that's one of the ways that I personally manage my stress. Is there's times where you start feeling stressed, and it goes back to what you've said multiple times on this episode: having the ability or being grateful that you can do these things, or it's a luxury that you can do certain things. That's what I've always looked at, because I'm like, when you feel stressed, there's someone else out there who's going through way more, and they have the ability to do it, and they've with no choice. They don't have a choice. And so, like you said, the fact that I have a choice to do some of these things helps me kind of put that thing into perspective. Like, I don't have to do this. They do. And so the fact that I have the choice at all, um, you know, I have to either deal with it and stop being stressed over this, or I got to just give it up, because it's silly for me to have this stress when someone else is out there dealing with some real stress that, but anyway, that's just me. That helps me, at least.
Yeah.
You don't have to feel that way, anybody. That's a stupid idea, but that's how I deal with it. So
Nice.
yeah,
We can go on and on about all of this, I'm
we
sure.
could. You feel better, Deb?
Feel much better.
Oh,
Got
good.
it off my chest.
I was at one point, I did feel a little bit like a counseling session. It felt like I gave you homework. Like, please come to this podcast and bring 4 or 5 things that are stressing you right now and list them for me. That's what it felt like.
I feel like this was a free therapy session, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I hope it helped. It was a therapy session for everybody else too.
It's like a therapy session without any client, counselor,
Right.
a confidentiality. It's like we're gonna put this out next Tuesday for everybody here. Deb's therapy session. So enjoy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For the live therapy session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a therapist by any means. That would be not great.
Okay. Me and my friends, we act like we're therapists with how the advice we give each other. Like
That makes sense though. That makes sense. Yeah, you guys are friends, so yeah, that makes sense. So Deb, is there anything else you wanted to mention before we get out of here?
No, just just my again takeaway is that just do your best to prioritize self-care, and then go ahead and make your life busy. That's at least my advice for myself.
There we go.
Yeah.
You heard it from Deb, so it must be true. There we go. So cool. Well, Deb, where can they follow us on social media?
You guys can follow us on Twitter at Connectable Pod, and then on all other social media platforms at Connectable Podcast. Do we have Pinterest still? You mentioned Pinterest.
I did. I mentioned, we do have. Yeah, I mentioned that we had that at the very beginning of this episode. The fact that you asked me if we still have it at the end of this episode is wild to me. I can't believe you just asked that. What was I supposed to answer to that? No, I've been meaning to tell you, while you were going on your rant about stress, I deleted our Pinterest.
Oh, okay.
No. Yes, we still have Pinterest. We actually have LinkedIn. We have LinkedIn now.
Oh, LinkedIn. Okay. Well, yeah.
I'm really trying to get everywhere.
There we go. Just Google Connectable Podcast. You'll find something.
Yeah. And like I mentioned before, Deb follows us on Instagram actively, and the rest of them, she clicked the follow button, but she doesn't really. Yeah.
I can only do one in social media, and that's it. And that's another reason why I would not keep this podcast afloat or my own, because one, social media is plenty for me. That's it.
All right. Well, that brings me stress. I'm out here just promoting this podcast by myself. Like, didn't you have a co-host? No, I do have a co-host. She's not present on anywhere else except for Instagram, and sometimes even on Instagram,
Sometimes on Instagram.
Somebody did ask me, are you still doing the podcast with, who was that? Someone did ask me, like, are you still doing a podcast with Deb? Yeah, believe it or not, we 100.
That doesn't
140 plus episodes.
sometimes I'm on.
Man, I wish I could remember who that was.
It's like I'm just floating out here in space, just randomly hopping on.
Yeah, yeah. No, I enjoy having her on a guest so much. I have her on basically every time.
That's from
I need to think about who that was, but yeah, someone did ask me that. So yeah, no, she's still on there every week.
almost every week.
I
Almost.
was gonna give it to you, but yeah, almost every week. But yeah, so make sure you guys follow us on all those. If you have any of those things, please give us a follow on all those things. You're gonna see the same clip and the same post, all of those places, but we appreciate the support regardless. And please make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcast. Last week, I put out there like a very sad plea to get more podcast ratings. I haven't posted it yet. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. But please, just don't make me release it. Just give us some more podcast ratings and reviews, and that would be awesome. And then make sure you do the same thing on YouTube. That would be awesome. And I think that's pretty much it. We've covered all the business side of things. So we're done.
Another Tuesday.
Another Tuesday. So, all right, everybody, enjoy your week. Don't be stressed. And if you are stressed, figure out how to manage it. And we will talk to you guys next week. See y'all. Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable Podcast.